Thailand. Just the name alone conjures up images of paradise. Golden beaches, perfect sunshine, rolling waves, but beyond the resorts and the nightlife, this country is home to some of the most amazing wildlife on the planet. So stick around and join me whilst we head into the heart of Thailand, where every single rustle, every single noise could be something amazing. Cheers. My first 2 days of this trip actually started on Koh Samui. Now it's better known for its nightlife and its beaches, and its rain. But this popular holiday destination proved very, very productive. From within 100 meters of where I was staying, I was able to tick off some target species that I've had for years, including this rather pretty black-naped oriole. And just moments later, another first, a massive flock of what I think were oriental pratincoles. Amazing. But only 30 yards from my balcony, there was a bird that I've always missed. A bee-eater. Isn't he beautiful in that colour against the sea? And he was in close company to the dozens of sunbirds and spider hunters like this one. With dozens of different species and loads of colours, these guys were great to just sit and watch go about their business. But it wasn't long before the first superstar, the Indo-Chinese roller. Have a look at these colours. The Indo-Chinese rollers have definitely become one of my favourite birds, and this is the first time I've seen them. A really rich indigo cobalt blue into a purple with a big white notch on their back. What an awesome bird. In good light, these are some of the prettiest birds I've ever seen, so it's incredible to think that these are actually relatively common in Thailand. This one is perched very precariously right on the top branch of this big tree, and now he's off. Whilst looking at the rollers, I did think this vine looked a little bit strange. This vine actually turned out to be a golden tree snake or an ornate flying snake. Same thing. These guys feed on geckos, frogs, small lizards and other small invertebrates, and can actually glide by flattening their body and effectively jumping at their prey. Although I didn't get to see that, this day was starting to really hot up. But it wasn't over there. Something I really didn't expect to see so close to built-up areas was a 3.5, maybe 4 foot long Asian water monitor, which are relatively common in this part of the world, but completely caught me off guard. This was just a young one, but as you'll see in part 2 of this trip, these guys can get pretty big. The chances are you're not actually subscribed to the channel. So if you think seeing some of the most exciting birds in the world, amazing amphibians and reptiles is up your street, drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel. Everywhere you look, something is happening. I mean, you don't even have to look. Everywhere you listen, something is happening. Just a second ago, at the corner of my eye, I saw 2 myna, which are really, really common, fighting over a praying mantis they'd caught that was about that long. And I was just sitting here for 2 minutes, waiting for one of the Indo-Chinese rollers to come back to its perch, and that happened right behind me. I couldn't get the camera on it, but these are just things you don't see every day. Well, you don't see every day if you're not in Thailand, but that's the roller. That's both of the rollers making that racket. Let's see if they come this way and we can get a shot. Oh, here he is, here he is. Back up he goes. As pretty as the rollers were, the rain came back, but so did my main target species, the white-bellied sea eagle. With wingspans of over 7 feet, this is absolutely one of the most dominant predators here, and it was unmistakable. As most of you all know, I've got a bit of a thing for eagles, and this was like our white-tailed sea eagle here, just that little bit more interesting if you ask me. That big white belly and looking as though his head is slightly longer, slightly more extended, was completely different and completely new for me. So this was fantastic. What a start. An absolutely incredible first day's birding, and all within 100 meters of where I was staying. But like many hotter tropical destinations, Thailand comes alive after the sun has gone down. With the help of Lenses for Hire in the UK, I rented the RF 100mm f2.8 macro, and on the first night, that proved to be a very good decision. Scolopendra. Otherwise known as nightmare fuel, this venomous centipede can grow up to 35 centimeters long. And these guys are incredibly aggressive, incredibly active hunters, and will kill and eat basically anything they can. They are quite intimidating, very sensitive to vibration. Whilst trying to get pictures of another specimen, he actually turned and came at me pretty quickly. The locals here on site generally kill these guys, which is unfortunate, but they're not necessarily something you'd want to bump into by accident. Although mildly venomous to humans, they're probably not going to do much damage. However, the bite is supposed to be exceptionally painful. So if you do see these guys out in the wild, just give them a bit of a wide berth. Luckily though, there was plenty of other less terrifying animals. Dozens of toads, dozens of insects, and the rather vocal banded bullfrog, which are affectionately known in the captive world as chubbies. My very brief stint on Koh Samui was over, and now it was time to head west to the Andaman Sea and the jungle. Little did I know that this first jungle session would prove to be one of my favourite days wildlife watching ever. The destination was Khao Sok on the western coast, very close to the Andaman Sea. If you're doing something like this, it's essential to have a good local guide who knows the area well. I went with Jane, who within minutes proved herself to be absolutely invaluable, pointing out things that I simply would never have noticed, including the fact that these broken bushes were actually caused by elephants in the area, so that we needed to be a little bit careful. The first actual animal, though, was this giant squirrel who seemed to love sliding down his branch for no particular reason. What an interesting animal. Compare that to a grey squirrel back home. But before we even hit the trail, Jane wasn't done. Look at this giant stick insect above our heads. He may not look it at this angle, but he was the length of my arm and about an inch thick. What a monster. And this wouldn't be the only stick insect of the day. Just the noise and feel of this place was special, and we really knew we were in for a good day when we spotted this spectacled langur off in the distance, somehow managing not to break this branch. There were reptiles everywhere, and although some of these lizards were really cool, they weren't what we were looking for, so didn't spend that long with them. But off in the distance, we could hear one of the most beautiful birds in this jungle. The white-rumped shama. A big robin, effectively. This gorgeous little orange bird mimics loads of other species and can produce an amazing call itself. Because of its amazing calls, the white-rumped shama is very popular with the cage bird hobby in Southeast Asia, but that is gradually starting to decline. Before we could talk about the shama, Jane noticed something. The lesser fish eagle. Look at this beast. The numbers are quite vague for this bird. Somewhere between 1,000 and 10,000 pairs are known, but either way, what a privilege to get 35 or 40 seconds with this bird alone in the jungle. But it wasn't long before he noticed us, and he was off. Barely able to catch our breath in this jungle, we soon bumped into a female Waggler's pit viper. The Waggler's pit viper is the most common pit viper in Thailand, but no less interesting than the others. This female, using the pits next to her nostrils, can detect changes in temperature of as little as 0.003 degrees Celsius. That's 0.0054 Fahrenheit. That is how they detect their prey at night. She also gives live birth to as many as 41 young who have to fend for themselves from bull 1. There are some who think that one of the compounds in Waggler's pit viper venom actually helps to reduce wrinkles, although I wasn't going to test the theory. The habitat here was absolutely perfect for snakes. You know those moments where it just feels right, it looks right? And it was right. We bumped into this oriental whip snake literally 10 minutes later. These guys can get up to about 2 meters long, and this one was around about 5 or 6 feet in length. These mildly venomous snakes are considered a sign of good luck down here because of how difficult they are to spot. And amongst these trees and vines, this one was showcasing why they are the perfect ambush predator. And it was photographing this guy that I really started to fall in love with the RF 100 2.8 macro. It created really nice smooth backgrounds like this, and it was razor sharp even at f2.8 wide open. But you never want to spend too much time with an animal for fear of stressing them out, so it was time to let him get on with catching his dinner. Which, coincidentally, could have been this guy. A flying dragon or a flying lizard. This is something I've wanted to see literally since I was a kid. But back then the closest I could get would have been the pages of one of my many books on reptiles and snakes. These guys can jump and glide from tree to tree, an excellent escape mechanism from a hungry whip snake, for example. Getting off of the beaten path really made us realise how incredible some of the vegetation is, and how sharp. And the last act, while there was some light, gibbons off in the distance. That was a fabulous afternoon session, but we all know the jungle at night is a different beast entirely. For those who don't like insects and spiders, look away now. You have been warned. And here was the first, a big huntsman devouring a very large fly. These guys are fast, they're active, they're smart, and their bite hurts like hell. They'll eat all sorts, even lizards. But this guy was a little bit too big. Although his mate on the other tree, fast asleep, wasn't hiding particularly well. Lizards aside, we soon saw my first tarantula in the wild, although he or she wouldn't come out of his burrow. I think this is a species of lichen huntsman. If you know, let me know in the comments down below. But look at the camouflage, look at the coloration. Almost couldn't see him on this stone. That was becoming a bit of a theme on this evening in the jungle. Some things you want to see, some things you don't. A massive huntsman scaling his silk back up through the trees right in front of your face. was definitely one I didn't want to see 6 inches away. But look at the blue in his legs. Actually quite an interesting animal. I'm not a huge spider guy, but I thought these were really cool in the end. Don't want one in my hair, but really cool to photograph nonetheless. But something has to eat all of these spiders. And here it is. This is a house centipede with 15 pairs of legs. I know that's misleading, but this guy is fast, and they feed on the massive numbers of spiders that are in the jungle. And for those who don't like insects, sorry. For scale, this guy was about 8 inches long and very, very fast. But on a lighter note, we saw this jungle nymph, which is like a massive, thick, giant centipede. In this instance, just hanging on for dear life. But what a cool animal. And there will be definitely some macro experts out there going nuts. Forgive me, this is my first real time having a proper go at Flash macro. It's great fun, but I'm very new to it. This was a nice surprise. Seeing scorpions and remembering that they glow under UV light. Their exoskeleton, the hyaline layer, glows, and no one knows actually why that happens. There are some theories, from it being used as some type of sunblock, to it helping them find each other, and even to confuse prey. No one really knows. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. We were very lucky to see our final snake of the night. This is what I think is a Wall's bronzeback, or a blue bronzeback. Dendrolaphis cyanochlorus. But I could be wrong because there are 48 species of bronzeback, but either way, what a pretty little snake. Being completely honest, at this point I was tired. My wrist hurt from taking so many photographs, but with the 100mm macro it was light enough to actually take pictures with one hand. I know that's unprofessional, but I could get away with it for record shots. This last spider stumped me. No idea what it is. If anyone can help, please leave a comment down below. For reference, it's much bigger than it looks here. It was about the size of your fist. Up high in the trees, big, huge web, 7 or 8 feet across. It was approaching midnight, so it was time to head back towards civilization with a few more stick insects. I can't believe how many of these we saw, including a blue and brown one that could not look more alien. I think this is the strangest creature I saw all night. And one more giant just for the road. This one was about a foot long, completely different to anything we see back home, so this was really special. For my first 2 days wildlife watching in Thailand, I could not be more happy. Of course, there were dozens of animals I couldn't get the camera on, but thank you very much for joining me to have a look at those that I could. If you have enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Drop me a comment down below as well, especially if you've been to Thailand. And make sure you join me for part 2 of this video, where we visit 2 of Thailand's classic birdwatching ecosystems and see what might be the most beautiful bird yet. See you then.